The American Revolution Center is blessed to have a wonderful collection of engraved powder horns from the Revolutionary War period. These were items carried by most soldiers in the American armies, and they were a unique form of American folk art that develops in the colonies a generation before the American Revolution. The cow horn, of course, is sort of like the plastic of the 18th century. It was a very flexible, waterproof, fireproof material. It could be formed under heat and turned into a waterproof container for gunpowder that soldiers would have to carry. And of course it was a short step from there to soldiers in their idle time recording their impressions of the military life in the camps and campaigns of early America. And so they range in decoration from very beautifully engraved, almost professionally engraved map horns, or horns that show for instance, an image of the city of Philadelphia from the period of the 1750s or 1760s. They also are a great document for understanding the military experiences of common soldiers, the type of people from early America who often do not leave letters or journals or diaries that allow us to sort of plumb their experiences and thoughts about their military service. The surviving examples are particularly rich from New England. We have a wonderful example from 1777, for instance, here. It was made for a man named Samuel Dudley. His horn made at Warwick, which is in Rhode Island, in December of 1777. And as you'll see, in addition to giving some details of places of service and circumstances of military service, they also will have wonderful, whimsical little folk art images. There's an image of a mother and a calf, a moose here, a pair of soldiers who are doing a sort of mock sword fight with the inscription, "Try it out," between these two soldiers. Another New England example here is this wonderful and very, very important image of the city of Boston. This belonged to a man named Abel Scott. It was engraved during the siege of Boston during the winter of 1775, and depicts an image looking across from the site of Breed's or Bunker Hill across the Back Bay to Boston in December of 1775. Abel Scott served 5 campaigns during the American Revolution. We know a lot of details about his service because at age 81 in 1832, he applied for a pension from the government and recorded a lot of the details of his service, including his service going back to 1775 and the first campaign of the American Revolution. The final example I have here comes from far to the south, from Virginia actually, although this form of engraved powder horn really develops in New England in particular in the 1740s and 50s. By the time of the Revolution, it had spread throughout the colonies, and this horn here belonged to a man named William Waller from Virginia, from the Valley of Virginia, Shenandoah Valley, who enlisted in 1776, served in one of the rifle companies that went off to support the Continental Army under George Washington. One of the wonderful things about Waller's horn is the patriotic inscriptions, liberty or death, which of course are the words attributed to Patrick Henry, a fellow Virginian of Waller's, the sentiment appeal to heaven, which was something used on a lot of regimental flags and patriotic inscriptions in New England during the early part of the American Revolution. And the very, I think, sobering motto, "Kill or be killed," which of course reminds us that this was serious, deadly business, the business of winning American independence in the American Revolution. And while we can tend to focus on sometimes the glamour and the colorful uniforms and the flags and this sort of thing, this was a deadly conflict, and proportionally the most deadly conflict for the American population after the American Civil War.